The Stoic Path to Fearless Living, a comprehensive guide. Fear, a ubiquitous human emotion, often casts a long shadow, obscuring the path to a fulfilling and meaningful existence. It can paralyze us, leading to missed opportunities and a life burdened by regret. However, fear need not be a tyrannical master. The ancient Stoics, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, recognized the detrimental impact of fear on happiness and success. They developed a powerful set of principles and practices for overcoming its grip. This essay, drawing from Stoic wisdom and modern insights, presents a comprehensive guide to conquering fear, empowering you to live a more courageous and authentic life. We'll explore 15 key Stoic lessons, interweaving personal anecdotes, practical exercises, and contemporary examples to illustrate their transformative power. By integrating Stoic philosophy into our daily lives, we can learn to navigate fear not as a crippling force, but as a signal, an advisor, and ultimately, a catalyst for growth. Remember to breathe deeply, affirm your inner strength, and remember that fear is a temporary state that can be overcome with practice and determination. The first step on the Stoic path to fearlessness lies in conscious breathing. Fear triggers the body's primal fight-or-flight response, leading to rapid, shallow breathing that exacerbates anxiety. This physiological response, in turn, fuels the mental cycle of fear. However, by consciously regulating our breath, we can interrupt this vicious cycle. When fear arises, pause, and intentionally take slow, deep belly breaths. Inhale fully, allowing your abdomen to expand, and exhale completely, releasing tension. Continue breathing rhythmically from your diaphragm. As Marcus Aurelius wisely advised, strive to be simple, good, pure, serious, free from affectation, a friend of justice, a worshipper of the gods, kind, affectionate, strenuous in all proper acts. Slow, full breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, signaling the body to relax. This physiological shift lowers heart rate and disrupts the fear's physical feedback loop. As your body calms, your mind naturally follows. If fearful thoughts intrude, gently redirect your focus back to your breath. Visualize inhaling calmness and exhaling fear. Imagine breathing in light and exhaling darkness. Make conscious breathing a regular practice, even when you're not feeling afraid. This will cultivate the skill and mindfulness needed to apply it effectively when fear arises. I recall a time when I was preparing to give a presentation to a large audience. The fear of public speaking had always been a significant obstacle for me. As the day approached, my anxiety escalated, and I found myself caught in a cycle of negative thoughts and physical tension. Remembering the Stoic principle of conscious breathing, I decided to dedicate time each day to practice deep, diaphragmatic breathing. During these sessions, I focused solely on my breath, allowing my body to relax and my mind to quiet down. By the time I stood before the audience, I still felt some nerves, but they were far less overwhelming. I was able to speak with clarity and confidence, delivering a presentation that I was proud of. This experience taught me the power of conscious breathing as a tool for managing fear and reclaiming control over my body and mind. With breathing mastery, fear loses its power over your body and mind. Just a few deep breaths can quickly diffuse anxiety. Fear often escalates because we fail to intervene in its physical effects early on. By mastering your breath, you can control fear before it controls you. This tool is always available to you, allowing you to counter rising panic and find your center again. The second Stoic lesson focuses on the power of encouraging self-talk. When fear arises, pause the alarmist self-talk that circulates in your mind. Instead, imagine what a wise and caring friend would say to you in this situation. Speak gently to yourself as this imaginary mentor would, using statements like, "This fear will pass, you've overcome hard times before," or, "I understand you're worried, but we're in this together." Remind yourself of your past resilience, strengths, and principles. Bolster yourself with compassion rather than criticism. If fear distracts you again, calmly guide your thoughts back to centered confidence. As Seneca wisely stated, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The way we talk to ourselves has a vital influence on our emotions. Instead of belittling yourself for feeling afraid, show self-compassion. Help fear melt away by cultivating inner safety and trust. High standards can motivate growth, but berating yourself when afraid only compounds distress. Bring courage through uplifting inner mentorship. The right words can heal. I had a friend who was a talented artist, but she was plagued by self-doubt and fear of failure. Every time she tried to start a new project, she would get overwhelmed by negative thoughts: my art is not good enough, people will criticize my work, I'm not talented enough to succeed. This negative self-talk paralyzed her, preventing her from pursuing her passion. I encouraged her to try a new approach, to consciously replace her negative thoughts with positive affirmations. I suggested she create a list of her strengths and accomplishments as an artist and to repeat these affirmations to herself whenever she felt fear creeping in. At first, it felt unnatural, but she persisted. Over time, she began to believe in her own abilities and to approach her art with more confidence. The negative thoughts still arose occasionally, but she was better equipped to manage them and prevent them from derailing her progress. This experience demonstrated to me the transformative power of encouraging self-talk. By consciously choosing to focus on our strengths and potential, we can overcome fear and unlock our creative potential. The third Stoic principle involves remembering times you overcame fear. When afraid, take an inventory of challenges and fears you have navigated before. Even if difficult, recall specific instances of demonstrating courage and perseverance through uncertainty. Remember in detail how it felt to make it through those situations, who supported you, and what principles guided you. Even experiences from the distant past live within you now as resources to apply. As Marcus Aurelius reflected, because your own strength is unequal to the task, do not assume that it is beyond the powers of man. But if anything is within the powers and province of man, believe that it is within your own compass also. Look back on the progression of your entire life until today, considering all the struggles you have already survived. You have evidence that this fear, too, shall pass. You are far stronger than you give yourself credit for in the moment. By remembering individual instances of past courage, rather than just a vague idea, you make that fortitude tangible, real, and accessible again. You have overcome fear and uncertainty countless times already. I was once faced with a challenging career transition. After working in a specific field for many years, I decided to pursue a completely different path. This decision was met with uncertainty and fear. I worried about my ability to succeed in a new industry, my lack of experience, and the potential financial risks. During this time, I found solace in the Stoic principle of remembering times I overcame fear. I took the time to reflect on past challenges I had faced and how I had successfully navigated them. I remembered a time when I had to learn a new skill in a short amount of time to meet a deadline. I recalled the late nights, the dedication, and the ultimate sense of accomplishment. These memories served as a reminder that I was capable of learning, adapting, and overcoming obstacles. They instilled in me a sense of confidence and determination, which helped me push through the fear and pursue my new career path. The fourth Stoic lesson teaches us to view fear as an advisor, not a dictator. Fear provides useful information about potential risks, but we should not let it control our thoughts and actions rigidly. Treat it as a servant, not a master. Acknowledge the warnings fear raises, but respond thoughtfully rather than just reacting impulsively to shut down all risk. Consider which precautions make sense while preventing paranoia. Stay focused on likely scenarios and prepare prudently for reasonable risks. However, fear often exaggerates possibilities into assumed certainties. Regain rationality by questioning fearful stories and grounding them in balanced facts. Look at fear as a nudge to prepare wisely and summon courage, not in order to panic and retreat. Have faith in your ability to navigate difficulties and uncertainty skillfully. Once you stop blindly obeying fear, the Stoics recognized fear as a normal and useful emotion, not the enemy. We must rule our fears rather than vice versa. Take the necessary steps to prevent real danger while refusing irrational avoidance. I had a friend who was considering starting her own business. She had a great idea and the passion to pursue it, but she was held back by fear. She worried about the financial risks, the potential for failure, and the impact on her personal life. I encouraged her to view her fear as an advisor, not a dictator. I suggested she acknowledge her concerns and use them as a guide to make informed decisions. We worked together to identify the potential risks associated with starting a business and to develop strategies to mitigate those risks. She researched the market, created a business plan, and secured funding. By addressing her fears in a proactive and thoughtful manner, she gained confidence and was able to move forward with her entrepreneurial venture. This experience taught me that fear can be a valuable source of information if we learn to interpret it correctly. It can help us identify potential challenges and prepare for them, but it should not be allowed to paralyze us or prevent us from pursuing our goals. The fifth Stoic principle emphasizes the importance of focusing on service. When you notice yourself becoming consumed by nervous thinking, make the choice not to indulge the fear further. Instead, actively shift your focus to taking positive action to assist someone else. As a Stoic counsel would advise, do every act of your life as if it were your last. Ask friends or family if there is any way you can help meet their needs. Look for opportunities to contribute to your community or support a cause aligned with your values. Be of service. Helping others pulls you out of self-preoccupation, feeding anxiety. Doing good also reinforces perspective. Connecting with wider needs beyond your own makes your fears shrink when focused outward. Of course, have compassion for your own difficulties, too, but avoid dwelling in self-pity alone. Look to make a difference for others facing their own fears and uncertainties. We're all in this together. Regular practice expanding awareness beyond your anxieties will gradually weaken fear's hold. The mind focused on service and compassion has little room left for anguished rumination. Your fears dissipate amidst care. I used to volunteer at a local soup kitchen. Initially, I started volunteering because I felt a sense of obligation to give back to my community. However, I soon discovered that it had a profound impact on my own well-being. Whenever I found myself feeling overwhelmed by fear or anxiety, I would make a point of going to the soup kitchen. The act of serving others, of providing food and comfort to those in need, helped me shift my focus away from my own problems and concerns. I was struck by the resilience and gratitude of the people I served, despite the challenges they faced. Their stories and experiences put my own fears into perspective and reminded me of the importance of compassion and service. Volunteering at the soup kitchen became a powerful tool for managing my own anxiety and finding a sense of purpose and meaning in my life. The sixth Stoic lesson addresses the habit of disrupting rumination. It's easy to brood over repetitive fearful thoughts that amplify anxiety exponentially, but we can break this cycle through mindful, absorbing activities. Notice when you've been circling the same anxious thoughts about possible threats over and over. Once aware, gently yet firmly tell yourself, I am stopping this rumination now. Shift your focus. Engage in something wholly absorbing to disrupt stuck thinking. Go for a walk in nature, play an instrument, cook a complex recipe. Any activity requiring full, mindful attention works. By giving your conscious mind something immersive to do, you interrupt the subconscious background processes recycling fearful thoughts. Rumination loses momentum once broken. Of course, fears may return afterwards, but each time you disrupt repetitive thinking, you strengthen the muscle to stop it sooner next time. Refuse to go down the same mental loops endlessly. As Seneca wrote, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Look at rumination as the process of fear, not an inevitable part of you. Have compassion for yourself while nonetheless taking action. The mind's habits can be trained with consistency over time. With mindful effort, fear's grip loosens as patterns of rumination are continually interrupted. You reclaim sovereignty over your own mind. Break the cycles. Fear dissipates. I have a tendency to overthink and ruminate on potential problems. This habit often leads to anxiety and fear. I realized I needed to find a way to disrupt these patterns of rumination. I decided to take up painting. At first, I found it difficult to focus and quiet my mind. The anxious thoughts kept creeping in, but I persisted. I experimented with different techniques and colors, gradually becoming more absorbed in the process. As I focused on the canvas, the brushstrokes, and the mixing of colors, my mind began to quiet down. The anxious thoughts faded into the background. Painting became a form of meditation for me, a way to escape the mental loops and find a sense of calm and presence. It taught me that by engaging in activities that require full, mindful attention, we can disrupt the patterns of rumination and reclaim control over our minds. The seventh Stoic principle encourages us to recall role models who inspire courage. Take a moment to reflect on people, whether figures from history, literature, or your own life, who demonstrate level-headedness and grace under pressure that you admire. Imagine how a wise mentor would calmly work through the difficulty at hand. How did great leaders like Marcus Aurelius respond to fear with principled strength and conviction? Channel their spirit. Visualize these exemplars facing the current challenge with steadiness, wisdom, and faith in themselves. Picture yourself mirroring their unflappable poise. Let them inspire you. Marcus Aurelius himself advised, think of the examples of those who have endured long illnesses, who have lost children, who have been impoverished. Think of their painful labors and how they faced them. Of course, have compassion for your own very human fears as well, but remembering courageous individuals and their conduct can empower you to align with their energy and virtues within yourself. Fear convinces us we are inadequate in isolation, but we are surrounded by kindred spirits across time who have faced terror with resilience. Their light reaches you. Draw strength from their shining example. When I was struggling with a difficult personal challenge, I found inspiration in the life of Nelson Mandela. I admired his unwavering commitment to justice and equality, his ability to forgive his oppressors, and his resilience in the face of adversity. I read his autobiography, watched documentaries about his life, and immersed myself in his teachings. I tried to imagine how Mandela would respond to my challenges, drawing on his strength and wisdom. I asked myself, what would Mandela do? This exercise helped me to shift my perspective and to approach my problems with more courage and determination. It reminded me that I was not alone in my struggles and that I had the capacity to overcome adversity, just as he had. Mandela's example served as a beacon of hope and inspiration, guiding me through a dark period in my life and empowering me to emerge stronger and more resilient. The eighth Stoic lesson emphasizes the importance of being prepared. Consider possible scenarios that are worrying you: job loss, accidents, family emergencies. Then proactively assemble what you would need if they occurred. Save an emergency fund, arrange backup childcare options, and know alternative travel routes. Identify and gather key resources so you're ready to handle challenges. Also, develop a general contingency plan. What first steps would you take after a setback to recover? Having an approach in mind, even if imperfect, lessens panic. Fear feeds on confusion. Preparing for adversity should bring confidence, not paranoia. The goal is reasonable readiness to navigate life's curveballs, not doomsday obsession. Stay focused on likely scenarios. The unknown requires courage, too, but having basic responses considered and some essentials on hand helps you feel more empowered and resilient when faced with uncertainty. When the wise reflect daily on mortality, it is not to breed fear but urgency to live virtuously. Similarly, moderate preparation engenders Stoic calm to use time prudently. Be ready. I once experienced a sudden job loss that left me feeling anxious and uncertain about the future. I worried about my ability to find a new job, pay my bills, and maintain my lifestyle. However, because I had followed the Stoic principle of being prepared, I was able to navigate this difficult situation with more confidence and resilience. I had saved an emergency fund that provided me with a financial cushion while I searched for a new job. I had also updated my resume and started networking with people in my field. By taking these proactive steps, I felt more in control of my situation and less overwhelmed by fear. I eventually found a new job that was even better than the one I had lost. This experience reinforced the importance of being prepared for life's inevitable challenges. It taught me that by taking reasonable steps to protect myself from potential setbacks, I could reduce my anxiety and increase my ability to bounce back from adversity. The ninth Stoic principle involves challenging fearful assumptions. Fears often rely on worst-case scenarios we treat as fact without examination, but we can lessen anxiety by questioning their supporting evidence. When you notice fear arising, pause and examine the anxious narrative in your mind. Ask what evidence truly supports it. Is it a definitive fact or just a negative interpretation? What objective data contradicts it? For example, the fear, "I will get sick and no one will be around to help me," assumes poor health and isolation as inevitabilities rather than possibilities, but does current data confirm this belief is absolutely true? Likely not. Look for affirming counterexamples. 2. What evidence demonstrates your resilience, times you navigated illness or emergencies just fine? Rather than believing the worst, expand perspective. As Aurelius wrote, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. Of course, prepare prudently for reasonable risks, but fear so often exaggerates possibilities into assumed certainties. Regain rationality by questioning fearful stories and grounding them in balanced facts. While fear is natural, it widely distorts. You can train yourself to catch its tendencies toward catastrophizing. Ask what is truly likely given the full context. With practice, anxiety becomes much less persuasive. I used to suffer from social anxiety. I worried about what people thought of me, about saying the wrong thing, and about being judged or rejected. These fears led me to avoid social situations, which only made my anxiety worse. I realized I needed to challenge these fearful assumptions. I started by identifying the negative thoughts that fueled my anxiety. People will think I'm boring, I'll say something stupid, no one will like me. Then I questioned the evidence for these thoughts. Was there any real reason to believe that these things were true? Had people actually told me that I was boring or stupid? Or was I just making assumptions based on my own insecurities? As I examined the evidence, I realized that my fears were largely unfounded. There was no real reason to believe that people would judge or reject me. In fact, most people were kind and accepting. By challenging my fearful assumptions, I was able to reduce my social anxiety and start to enjoy social situations more. The 10th Stoic lesson is to practice asserting yourself. Fear often exaggerates risks of conflict or criticism if we speak up, but respectfully voicing concerns builds confidence to conquer inhibition. Reflect on situations where you feel afraid to share your perspective, set boundaries, or speak your truth. Then consciously take small risks to assert yourself in these areas, even with just baby steps. Start simply, ask a question in a meeting, candidly tell a friend how you feel, request a favor clearly. Build up to bigger challenges like negotiating salary, saying no to requests, or confronting issues. Accept discomfort as part of growth. The more you speak and act with courage in situations provoking fear, the more you will realize feared consequences rarely manifest. Your confidence expands. Of course, be moderate. Don't become aggressive just to prove a point, but softly asserting your voice and countering fear's message that avoiding conflict is paramount. When in balance, it is healthy. As Seneca wrote, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that they are difficult. I used to have a hard time saying no to people. I was afraid of disappointing them or of causing conflict. This led me to take on more responsibilities than I could handle, which left me feeling stressed and overwhelmed. I realized I needed to practice asserting myself and setting boundaries. I started by saying no to small requests that I didn't have time for or that didn't align with my priorities. At first, it was uncomfortable. I worried about what people would think of me, but I persisted. Over time, it became easier to say no, and I realized that people respected me more for it. I also started to speak up in meetings and share my ideas, even when I was afraid of being criticized. I found that my contributions were valued and that I gained confidence by expressing my perspective. Practicing assertiveness helped me to overcome my fear of conflict and to build stronger relationships based on mutual respect. The 11th Stoic principle involves visualizing rising above fear. Close your eyes and breathe deeply, then slowly picture yourself in a scenario that seems frightening: public speaking, an important exam, a new social situation. See yourself feeling the fear, but stepping forward bravely through it. Watch yourself speaking eloquently, passing the test, calmly conversing warmly. Stay grounded and encouraged. Imagine the pride and joy you feel having triumphed despite the fear. Let your visualization be vivid, in full color and detail. Make the scenes experientially real. This rehearsal through imagination shapes your anticipatory beliefs about how you can respond to challenges. Rather than assuming failure, you prime your mind and body to react with poise. By imprinting the desired images, the mind cannot easily distinguish visualizing success from actual success. Athletes commonly use visualization to improve performance. Treat managing fear similarly and envision mastery. Make it so. I had a friend who was terrified of flying. She would experience panic attacks every time she had to board a plane. I suggested she try visualization to help her overcome her fear. I guided her through a series of visualizations where she imagined herself calmly and confidently boarding the plane, taking her seat and enjoying the flight. I encouraged her to focus on the positive aspects of the trip, such as the destination, the activities she would enjoy, and the people she would meet. She practiced these visualizations regularly, and over time, her anxiety began to decrease. When she finally had to take a flight, she was surprised by how calm she felt. She was able to manage her anxiety and even enjoy the flight. This experience demonstrated to me the power of visualization as a tool for overcoming fear. By mentally rehearsing positive outcomes, we can prepare ourselves to face challenging situations with more confidence and resilience. The 12th Stoic lesson emphasizes the importance of cultivating optimism and gratitude. While fear exaggerates the negative, focusing on the positive provides balance. When you notice fear creeping in, pause and deliberately shift perspective. Look for possible upsides rather than just downsides of the situation, provoking anxiety. How might this challenge lead to growth? Also, call to mind all the things you appreciate about life: loved ones, nature, health, opportunities. Consider how rich life remains even amid difficulties. Fear thrives on singular focus. Let gratitude wash fear away rather than coexisting. Say thanks for what you have been given, which is always abundant, even if not obvious when afraid. As Marcus Aurelius reflected, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Make a habit of writing down 3 to 5 things you feel grateful for each day. Over time, anxiety finds no room to spread as optimism and appreciation expand. Of course, take balanced precautions, too. Don't just bury your head in the sand, but regularly shifting focus to the positive prevents fear from monopolizing mind space. You always have a choice what to feed. I started a gratitude journal. Every evening, before going to bed, I would write down 3 things that I was grateful for that day. At first, it was difficult to think of things to write about, but as I continued the practice, I became more aware of the positive aspects of my life. I started to notice the small things that I had previously taken for granted: a beautiful sunset, a kind word from a friend, a delicious meal. Focusing on these positive aspects of my life helped me to shift my perspective and to reduce my anxiety. I realized that even in the midst of challenges and difficulties, there was always something to be grateful for. Cultivating gratitude became a powerful tool for managing my fear and for finding joy and contentment in my life. The 13th Stoic principle involves prayer or meditation. Connecting to spiritual transcendence calms the fearful ego by reminding you of realities larger than transient, worldly concerns. When afraid, take time to sit quietly and pray sincerely to open your heart and shift perspective beyond limited ego. If prayer is not your tradition, meditate to detach from ego fears and feel universal sacredness. Consider the vastness of time, the inevitability of mortality, the interconnectedness of all life. Your individual worries become less solid before the enormity of existence itself. Fear shrinks in proper proportion. Reflect on the parts of yourself, consciousness, love, creativity, which never change even as ego identity fears change. You are connected to an enduring divine essence beyond this temporary body and personality. As Marcus Aurelius advised, look back over the past, with its changing empires that rose and fell, and you can foresee the future, too. In the stillness beyond thought, touch the sacred within. Feel fear dissolve back into its native nothingness. This sense of vastness remains underneath fear. Tap into it again later when afraid. Quiet contemplation or heart-opening prayer calms nerves naturally by connecting to realities vaster than the fearful mind can grasp. Remember the eternal. Fear not. I began practicing meditation. I found a quiet place to sit, closed my eyes, and focused on my breath. I allowed my thoughts to come and go without judgment, simply observing them as they passed through my mind. As I continued to meditate, I began to feel a sense of calm and peace. My anxieties and fears seemed to fade into the background. I realized that I was not my thoughts or my emotions. I was something deeper and more enduring. This experience helped me to detach from my ego fears and to connect with a sense of universal sacredness. I understood that my individual worries were insignificant in the face of the vastness of time and the interconnectedness of all life. Meditation became a powerful tool for managing my fear and for finding a sense of inner peace and contentment. The 14th Stoic lesson emphasizes the importance of seeking trusted counsel. When you notice growing anxiety about an issue, resist the urge to ruminate on worst-case possibilities yourself endlessly. Reach out to level-headed loved ones to talk it over. Ask for their honest thoughts and perceptions. Does this situation seem overly worrisome? What possible positive sides am I overlooking? What constructive actions could I take that I may be blind to? Listen sincerely without defensiveness. Often, we just need a sounding board to get out of our own spiraling head. Their grounded support helps fear seem less solid and consuming. Of course, take full responsibility for managing your own mind as well, but a dose of rational outside perspective can be invaluable when lost in the hall of mirrors of anxiety. As Seneca counseled, we should every night call ourselves to an account. What infirmity have I mastered today? What passions are opposed? What temptation resisted? What virtue acquired? No one is an island. We need the wisdom of community to illuminate our blind spots and expand limited views founded on fear. With help, you find your way back to courage again. I was facing a difficult career decision and I was feeling overwhelmed by anxiety. I reached out to a trusted mentor, someone whose judgment I respected and who had experience in my field. I explained my situation and shared my fears and concerns. My mentor listened patiently and offered me valuable insights and advice. He helped me to see the situation from a different perspective, to identify the potential risks and rewards, and to develop a plan of action. His grounded support helped me to feel less anxious and more confident in my ability to make a wise decision. I am grateful for the counsel and guidance that my mentor provided me. It helped me to overcome my fear and to make a decision that was in my best interest. This experience taught me the importance of seeking trusted counsel when facing difficult challenges. The 15th and final Stoic principle is to affirm inner strength. Fear often succeeds by convincing us we are helpless, when in truth, we never stand alone. Though times get dark, your inner light remains strong. You have weathered storms before and have gifts to withstand the storms ahead. Tell yourself, I am brave. I adapt. I handle challenges creatively. My spirit is stronger than any fear. I turn suffering into growth. Though afraid, I always have courage to take the next right step. If emotions tempt you into despair, what truths about your greatness would loved ones who know you deeply reflect back to uplift you again? Let their voice speak your worth. Have faith in the tremendous tenacity and fortitude within, however obscured at times by worry. Say often, I am resourceful. I am resilient. I trust myself. This too shall pass. Your light endures. The wise and caring person you know yourself to be at your core awaits underneath the temporary fear. Have a heart. Reclaim your full powers and potential by remembering your deep, unbreakable strength. As Marcus Aurelius affirmed, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In summary, overcoming fear is not about eliminating the emotion itself, but rather about transforming our relationship with it. The Stoic lessons outlined in this essay provide a powerful framework for navigating fear and living a more courageous and fulfilling life. By practicing conscious breathing, encouraging self-talk, remembering past successes, viewing fear as an advisor, focusing on service, disrupting rumination, recalling role models, being prepared, challenging fearful assumptions, practicing assertiveness, visualizing success, cultivating optimism and gratitude, praying or meditating, seeking trusted counsel, and affirming inner strength, we can reclaim our power and potential. Fear may still arise, but it will no longer hold us captive. Instead, it will serve as a reminder of our resilience, our strength, and our capacity for growth. Embrace the Stoic path to fearless living, and unlock the extraordinary possibilities that await you.